Hi students, welcome back to another class of acid-base balance. We are continuing with the part 2 of the lecture. Now if you have not seen the part 1, okay, I highly suggest you go back, visit the part 1 and come back here because this video starts right off where we left in part 1. So let us recap a few things if you have watched it by now. So we are discussing basically BI competency 6.8. This is the only competency of National Medical Commission NMC for undergraduate MBBS students, first professional, that deals with arterial blood gas analysis, acid base balance, everything. Now our goal, our long-term goal is to diagnose patient disorders of arterial blood gas analysis. We need to diagnose ABG reports and for that we need to have clear concept of acids and bases. Now we have started our discussion in the lines of how the normal pH is maintained, right? So first we discussed normal pH in our last class, right? So we discussed 7.35 to 7.45. This is the normal pH range of human being. One thing I didn't ask because I thought you already know, what is pH? pH is the negative log of hydrogen concentration, right? We all know this. So there has to be some amount of protons in our system. Where from that protons are coming? There are multiple sources of H plus, because since negative log of hydrogen concentration means there has to be at least 10 to the power minus 7.35, isn't it? Amount milliequivalent of proton, right? So we move on and we also discuss the survival range, that if the pH goes beyond this, patient will die. So who maintained normal pH? There were 3 lines of defense. The first line was blood buffers, the second line is respiratory mechanism, and third line kidneys, renal mechanism. Okay, we started our discussion on blood buffer system. We discussed the bicarbonate buffer, which is the majority. We will be continuing with buffer system and we will touch, if possible, we will complete respiratory system today, right? So we discussed bicarbonate buffer. The main take home message was the bicarbonate buffer consists of a weak acid and its conjugate base. What is the weak acid? The weak acid is carbonic acid. And what is its conjugate base? Sodium bicarbonate. This is the salt, and bicarbonate ion acts as the conjugate base, HCO3 minus, right? So there is a very important ratio, bicarbonate to carbonic acid. Normally this ratio is 20:1, okay? This is the factor, 20:1, okay? So when we make log 20, it comes around 1.3. This is the pKa of bicarbonate buffer, that is 6.1. So normal pH can equate up to 7.4. However, as I told you, everything, these are all biological parameters and all of them have got some normal range. So this proportion also varies. Likewise, the pH varies from 7.35 to 7.45. This is derived from Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. Okay. So we now move on to our, today's class. Today's class starts with alkali reserve. Okay, so this is something new. What is alkali reserve? Alkali reserve is nothing but the total amount of bicarbonate that is present. Okay, so total amount of bicarbonate that is present in our body. What does bicarbonate do? Whenever there is an excess acid, it will donate bicarbonate from the reserve. Okay, from the pool, bicarbonate ion will be donated. It will combine with the H plus. So whenever there is excess of H plus in the body, whenever the pH is trying to go excessively low, so H plus plus bicarbonate will combine to form H2CO3, H2CO3, and that will dissociate to form H2O and carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide will be gone from the lungs. So whenever there is acidosis, there is more production of carbon dioxide. This concept will come handy. Okay, remember, whenever there is more acid production in the body, if lungs are trying to compensate or lungs are trying to intervene, lungs will do that by removing more and more CO2. That way the body's bicarbonate will be depleted. So bicarbonate represents the alkali reserve. it has to be sufficiently high to meet the acid load. Generally, the body stores bicarbonate in such a way so that it permits some amount of acids to be formed in daily metabolic processes, and that can be easily neutralized by the reserved bicarbonate without altering the pH of the body. मतलब क्या है, बॉडी में हमेशा मेटाबॉलिज्म के टाइम पे देयर आर प्रोडक्शन ऑफ एसिड, लैक्टिक एसिड, मल्टीपल एसिड्स, राइट. दे कैन लोअर द pH. हाउएवर क्यों नहीं हो रहा है, क्योंकि बॉडी में देयर इज सम एल्काली जो ये एसिड को न्यूट्रलाइज कर दे रहा है. ओके, सो दिस इज alkali reserve. And what is the most important alkali of the body? That is bicarbonate. Bicarbonate comprises of the major alkali of the body. So basically bicarbonate concentration is equivalent to the alkali reserve of our body, right? If it was too low, देखो, this is very important. Normally कितना है? The ratio is 20. Right? I told you the HCO3 to H2CO3. Under physiological circumstances, the ratio of 20, that is a high alkali reserve, ensures high buffering capacity against acids. That is what I just told you. Okay. What if this ratio was too low? For example, if it was 1, it means all alkalis, I mean all bicarbonate would have been exhausted within very short time and there will be no buffer. Why bicarbonate is in excess? Because we need bicarbonate in case there is some acid production. So this concept is very important. Reserve means it is stored for future use. Fixed deposit बना के रख दिया, अभी ज़रूरत नहीं है. जब कोई emergency crisis होगा, then we need to take money from that reserve. Okay, so anything reserve means it is not needed now, but in case of any emergency, it will be used up. So in this case, the reserve is not money, it's alkali in the form of bicarbonate. So this is the concept of alkali reserve, right? Okay. So we are done with bicarbonate buffer. Fine. We now move on to the next buffer system, that is phosphate buffer. Fine. Phosphate buffer may be asked in Viva, may come as an MCQ or may come as a short note. There are few keywords that you need to note. Okay. Phosphate buffer is an intracellular buffer. It is present inside the cell. Okay, it means its concentration in extracellular fluid, that is plasma, is almost negligible. So its concentration in plasma is very low. Okay, mainly intracellular. This is an MCQ. I believe I showed you a chart last day, the percentage of all the buffers, right? Should be showing that again. The pKa value for bicarbonate buffer was 6.1. Okay, right. Here it is 6.8. Fine. Now, see, this phosphate buffer system is found to be effective at wide pH range because it has more than one ionizable group and the pK values are different for both. Very important concept, right? For those who have gone through the titration curve of amino acid, for example, titration curve of glycine, you will see in the amino acid chapter, all the amino acids have got fixed pKa values. That is, at some pKa, at some pH which is equal to pK, it will be in the zwitteranic form. That is, positive and negative charge will be equal. Excuse me. However, for certain amino acid that have got more than one polar group, for example, acidic amino acid like aspartic acid and glutamic acid, and basic amino acid like histidine, arginine, lysine, etc., you can find it in your textbook. So acidic and basic amino acid, they have got more than one pKa. So for every ionizable group, okay, that group is ionizing. It means it has got an equilibrium reaction and there will be a constant for that reaction. So each time each group ionizes, there will be one pKa for each group. So just remember this, whenever there is more than one ionizable group, there will be more than one pKa for that specific compound, be it amino acid, be it buffer, anything. Bicarbonate buffer has got only one ionizable group, that is bicarbonate, HCO3. It either combines with Na plus or it combines with H plus. Fine. Here there are two types of ion that are involved in case of phosphate buffer. So there are two pKa values, and what is this? Just now we told it has a pKa value of 6.8. This is the mean pKa. So we average out both the pKa. Suppose one pKa is in acidic pH and one pKa is in basic pH. Okay, we combine them both and then we get a mean pKa, that is average pKa, which is 6.8. Fine. Now let us look how the buffer works, phosphate buffer, right? See, the basic concept of phosphate buffer lies in phosphoric acid. We all know, we have all studied phosphoric acid in our class 12 chemistry, right? It is a tri-basic acid. Fine. However, we have all read that in all physiological condition, in almost all physiological condition, the third hydrogen is never given out. Okay, so generally H3PO4 is theoretically a tribasic acid, right? However, the main two ions that are dissociated are hydrogen phosphate or dihydrogen phosphate. Okay, simply PO4 3 minus is generally not given out. Okay, so what happens? See, this one, whenever this is H3PO4, okay, it can dissociate first to give out this one. Okay, H plus plus HPO4 minus. Okay, next it can dissociate to form, to give donate another proton, forming hydrogen phosphate. This is dihydrogen phosphate and this is hydrogen phosphate. Okay, the last dissociation occurs at an extreme high pH. Okay, note this, at physiological range both the salt are there. Okay, what is physiological range? Around 7.35 to 7.45. In that range, it is present in both salt form. What is both salt form? Either disodium hydrogen phosphate or sodium dihydrogen phosphate. Okay, so what is the composition of phosphate buffer? The composition of bicarbonate buffer was carbonic acid and sodium bicarbonate. Okay, remember, carbonic acid and sodium bicarbonate in case of bicarbonate buffer. However, in case of okay, Sumit, you have raised hand. जो query है ना, type in the WhatsApp group. Okay, because I cannot minimize this now. I have to go into the chats, which is very cumbersome. If you have got any chat, you can type in the comment section. I will take Q&As later. So, composition of phosphate buffer is disodium hydrogen phosphate and sodium dihydrogen phosphate. This behaves as an acid and this behaves as a base in solution, because NaH2PO4 dissociates to form H plus plus NaHPO4 minus. Okay, so this behaves as a proton donor, so this is an acid. It means the dihydrogen salt is actually the acid in phosphate buffer. Okay, and the disodium salt Na2HPO4, it dissociates to form what? Actually, tell me. It can actually donate protons. So this combines with water, so it can form NaOH and Na. This is HPO4 minus. Okay, this is what happens. So यहाँ पे सब कुछ भूल जाओ, you can forget all these things. Just remember the di-basic salt, that is sodium, disodium, they behave as a base. Okay, proton acceptor. If there is any H plus ion in the system, this H plus plus OH minus, H plus plus OH minus, this extra sodium will form NaOH and this H plus will form NaH2PO4. Okay, so it will go back to its acidic conformation. So basically any buffer alters between its base and acid whenever a proton is donated or accepted. Okay, so this can go back and forth in between its two forms. So NaH2PO4 minus and Na2HPO4. Okay, all these are single minus salt. Okay, see, यहाँ पे this should be PO4 3 minus, but this reaction never happens in biological system. Okay, this reaction happens. Phosphate buffer, if you are given to write a short note, I think there is too many things I have written in this slide. Just remember, this is an intracellular buffer. The pKa is 6.8. It has got a wide range of action. There are multiple pKa values for this because there are multiple ionizable group, and in the next you write this reaction and mention that the third reaction does not happen in biological system. The phosphate buffer in biological system remains in its sodium salt form. What are the two sodium salt? Number one, disodium hydrogen phosphate, which acts as a base, and sodium dihydrogen phosphate, which acts as an acid. Why? Because this dihydrogen can donate proton to form disodium hydrogen phosphate, and this disodium can accept a proton, thus becoming sodium dihydrogen phosphate. Okay, so two molecules of disodium can actually donate proton and rearrange itself to form this and water. Okay, detailed reaction you don't need to know, just remember these two, disodium and dihydrogen. Disodium means where there is more sodium is base, and where there is more hydrogen, this is an acid, and the mean pKa is 6.8, right? So this was all about phosphate buffer. So we have covered two buffers. Number one, bicarbonate buffer. Number two, phosphate buffer. You just need to know your key points. Based on that, you can answer in Viva, or you can make your own short note. Okay. Next, we come to protein buffer system. This is minor, but this is very, very, very important. Okay, because this buffer system contributes in both, controlling the pH both as a first line of defense, and it also participates in the respiratory mechanism, especially hemoglobin. Okay, so the protein buffer system basically depends on the pK value of ionizable side chain. We all know, we have all discussed that proteins are comprising of amino acid. Now whatever amino acid is present, based on their side chain dissociation, the protein can act as buffer, and the pK is based on that. Okay, so buffering capacity of protein depends on the pK value of the ionizable side chain. However, most important among them is histidine. Okay, because histidine has got an imidazole ring. I told you you need to prepare amino acids and their side chains. Very few, yes, I think I uploaded a video, must know amino acid structures. Okay, that video is very important. So in that video I have discussed what structures you need to remember, or at least what functional groups you need to remember. Okay, so this histidine, the imidazole group, actually having a pK value of 6.1 is very close to the bicarbonate buffer. So it also plays a role whenever there is a change in, or there is a tendency to change the pH. Okay. Anyways, we will be discussing hemoglobin buffer while we are discussing the respiratory change or respiratory control of pH. So what are the buffers? Number one, bicarbonate buffer. Number two, phosphate buffer. Number three, protein buffer, whose another part is hemoglobin buffer, because hemoglobin, the globin part of hemoglobin is a protein which has got a histidine. Okay, distal histidine is present. I think when another faculty teaches you about hemoglobin structure function, she will be discussing in detail, right? So this is another recap, and this slide is very important for MCQ purpose. Okay, see, so what are the components of a buffer and in what compartment they are present, right? So extracellular fluid, bicarbonate, okay, phosphate, albumin. Intracellular, phosphate, protein, again bicarbonate, and erythrocytic fluid, hemoglobin, phosphate and bicarbonate. Now I just told you the phosphate buffer is mainly intracellular buffer, right? Yes, it doesn't mean that it is absent outside the system. It is very much present, but the concentration is very, very, very low. Now you can also see something, that is, whenever we are talking about extracellular, the ion is sodium. right? And whenever we are talking intracellular, the ion is potassium. Why this is? It's because the concentration of sodium is very high outside the cell, okay? Outside the sodium in ECF, that is in plasma, sodium is around almost 130 to 140 and potassium is around 5. The reverse story is inside the cell. Inside, potassium is very high and sodium is very low. So the major cation inside the cell, whether it may be any intracellular fluid or specifically when we are talking about RBC, inside there is high amount of potassium. So all the salts, I mean all the cations that are combining with the bases are in potassium form. Very, very, very important. This concept should be very clear. Okay. Suppose you are given an MCQ in which there are option about buffers inside RBC or inside the cell. Okay. No matter if even if you have to choose phosphate buffer for extracellular, for example. If there is potassium, you don't choose that. We all know that the predominant buffer, I have just told you, the predominant buffer inside the cell is phosphate and the predominant buffer outside the cell is not phosphate, it is bicarbonate, right? Suppose you are given an option where you tend to mark phosphate buffer intracellularly, but it is given in sodium form. Be very careful, sodium form of phosphate buffer is present in outside the cell, okay? I think I just told it in very complicated way. For example, let me rephrase my question. The major buffer that is present inside the cell, okay? MCQs can be very easy. It may give phosphate buffer, bicarbonate buffer, protein buffer, hemoglobin buffer, etc. If it is given in this form, then you can simply mark phosphate buffer because I just told you phosphate buffer is the major intracellular buffer. However, if they are given in this formulae, that is sodium bicarbonate by sodium carbonate, bicarbonic acid, potassium dihydrogen phosphate by potassium dipotassium hydrogen phosphate, disodium by dihydrogen, like that, then you have to very carefully choose the one that is with potassium. And if this is not given, you cannot choose this one because this is present outside the cell, okay? If you are watching this video again in YouTube, you can just rewind, listen to what I just said and apply your own brain and it will be very clear. The thing is potassium inside the cell, sodium outside the cell, fine? Okay. So, when we are done with all these, there are few cells, even tissues that can also act as buffer. Means whenever the liquid form, okay, the buffers that I told you till now are all suspended in liquid medium. For example, bicarbonate, phosphate, they are all soluble buffer. Proteins, they are also colloids that are suspended in fluid. However, there are few cellular components that also play some role in buffering, mainly because the enzymes are very sensitive to change in pH. Okay, few enzymes are very sensitive, act only in acidic pH, and few enzymes act in alkaline pH. One of the very good example is the enzymes of our gastrointestinal tract, GIT. For example, upper GI enzyme, the enzyme that are present in stomach, they are designed in such a way that they are active in acidic pH only because HCl, stomach environment, is acidic. And the lower GI enzymes, for example, pancreatic enzymes, are all active in alkaline pH, right? So, you may find since childhood there are few capsules and there are few tablets. So, in capsules there is a coating and inside the coating some granules are found, okay. Those capsules are actually, they are known as enteric coated. What does it mean? If you just take something, if that is an drug, it will not act in stomach, okay. So, the capsule, the protective covering is designed in such a way so that it will only be dissolved by alkali. It cannot be rusted or broken down by the acid. So, it is protected while it passes through the stomach, okay. Thereafter, when it reaches intestine, that coating will be dissolved by alkaline enzymes, alkaline pancreatic juices, and then the drug can act. I'm just giving you an example. So this proves that there are certain enzymes that are active in acidic pH, and there are certain enzymes that are active only in alkaline pH. Cytoplasm, that is inside the cell. Remember, we are not considering plasma. Okay, plasma pH means our body pH that we measure in blood. Okay, it is ultimately the plasma that is filtered through the capillaries, and ultimately that is constituting the blood in our system, right? Definitely plasma is a part of blood. Okay, extracellular fluid. The cytoplasm, that is inside the cell, it is a bit acidic. So the cytoplasmic pH is around 6.8 to 7.3. So who modulates all these? Till now we discussed only extracellular mechanism, that is buffers, etc. Fine. So now a small amount of information about cellular buffers. Since the cytoplasmic enzymes are sensitive to change in pH, not only change in pH, the contraction. I think you have studied nerve muscle physiology, in which you have seen how the actin, myosin, troponin, tropomyosin, they all act in unison to produce a muscle contraction, and there is a very important role of calcium ion also, right? And that calcium ion is strictly active whenever there is a definite pH range. Also, the resting membrane potential is also dependent on pH. Okay, all the spike potentials, everything that we have studied in nerve muscle conduction, they are all sensitive to a very narrow pH range. What happens if the pH is reduced very much? Then what will happen? Whenever the patient is going into acidosis, okay, the patient will go into coma and his muscles will be loose and lax. Whenever a patient lands up in ICU with acidosis, okay, when you become interns and doctors, you will be seeing, whenever you carry the patient to ICU, whenever there is respiratory acidosis, his hands and feet will behave as if there is no tone. Okay, no tone means there is no contractility. Why there is no contractility? Because reduction in pH reduces the contractility of actin and myosin in muscles. Okay. The opposite of this is hyperexcitability, means there will be seizures whenever there is alkalosis. Okay. So not right now we are not concerned with alkalosis, because acidosis is the main thing that we need to treat in ICU. Alkalosis is also important, and that can be easily treated compared to acidosis. So the electrical properties of excitable cells are also affected by change in pH. Just now what I told you, the resting membrane potential, spike potential, the firing, all are done by, all are governed by this pH range. So maintenance is very important. So who are the tissues that are involved in cellular buffering? After all this theory, you should just know the answer to those MCQs. Okay, they are actually bone and skeletal muscle. What is left? Okay, basically bone and skeletal muscle are huge part of our system that mainly determines our weight. Okay, yes, the body is devised in such a way that the bones and skeletal muscle, that the cells can modulate some buffering activity, that some change in pH they can resist in order to maintain the proper cellular function. So let me recap. Cytoplasmic pH varies from this to this. Okay, why this is important? Number one, various enzymes are sensitive, contractility of protein varies, excitability, that is the resting membrane potential, electrical properties also varies with change in pH, and who controls this? That is the bones and skeletal muscles. Okay, so this is all about cellular buffer. So we end our buffer system. Okay, there are few more things, few more MCQs that actually are important. You just note these values. Okay, see, just write this down. Don't copy this whole cell. You can either take a screenshot or you can just make your own notes. 52% buffer activity is in cell tissues. Okay, out of them 6% is in RBC. So see, these are all percentages, these are all facts that you need to remember. Okay, there is nothing to understand. Okay, these are all factual values. Believe me, there is many concept that one should understand, but a rattubaz, okay, simple, who can ratify many things, can score good marks in exam. Okay, I'm not talking about becoming a good doctor. Okay, yes, you definitely need your application in order to treat patients in real world scenario. But in order to score good marks, I mean, before getting there, you need to pass all your exams, right? So, in order to score good marks, you also need to have a very good memory. And this whole MBBS, it's not about being genius, okay? It's about hard work. So, memorizing is an integral part of becoming a doctor. You have to remember so many things, from new drugs to what drug to be given to what patient, what dose, what are the treatment regimes, what drug you cannot give together, what drug has got reaction, what drug is appropriate in what age, कोई allergy है तो क्या drug नहीं देंगे, खाने के पहले क्या, खाने के बाद क्या, there are so many things to remember, okay. But definitely as you get there, you will be remembering as I can remember a bit, थोड़ा थोड़ा, okay, right now. So these things are, you need to remember, okay, समझने का कुछ नहीं है, बस याद रखो. So see, 43% is by extracellular buffer, and inside in plasma is extracellular space. वहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? 40% buffering action is done by bicarbonate system, as I told you, the majority, fine, and 1% is done by protein and 1% is done by phosphate buffer system. समझे? So cell के बाहर the majority is bicarbonate buffer, okay. 1% are those minor buffers, but when we consider inside, okay, intracellular buffering, majority is phosphate buffer, and also the cells, that is the cells of bones and skeletal muscle, they also play some minor role, but majority is phosphate buffer inside the cell, okay. Next, one line, that is buffers can act quickly. That is the first line of defense. Emergency, झट से काम करेगा, but that will not act permanently. So whenever there is some jhamela inside hostel, okay, the wardens, it will be the seniors, the wardens will act immediately, okay, they will act quickly, but it will not be permanent unless management को news जाता है, वहाँ से लोग आके कान पकड़ते हैं, झमेला नहीं रुकता है, ठीक है. So that is the way how buffers act. Buffers can respond immediately to addition of acids or base, but they do not serve to eliminate acid from the body, okay. They are also unable to replenish the alkali reserve of the body. Means reserve से तो दे दिया, अब reserve को भरेगा कौन? There, for final elimination of acid, the respiratory and renal regulation are very essential. Warden आके बस temporarily रोक दिया problem को, but finally management has to intervene. उनसे भी नहीं होता, finally anti-ragging committee, police has to intervene. So just the analogy I gave you in the past, I mean last class, this is how the buffer act. They act quickly, first line of defense, but the solution is not permanent, okay. They cannot compensate, they will resist change in pH. So this is all about buffer system, okay. This is all about buffer, how buffers act, how many buffers are there, bicarbonate, phosphate, protein, hemoglobin, that we will be discussing soon. So अगर कोई question है on buffer, तो this is the time to type right now, because I have muted this chat and मैं अपना sound भी off करके रखा हूँ so that it doesn't echo. So any question regarding buffer you can ask now. How bones help in cellular buffer? It's not the bones dear, it's the osteoblasts. वो cell के अंदर ऐसा कुछ होता है ions that will donate and accept protons. Now we move to respiratory regulation of pH, which acts as the second line of defense. Now what does lungs have? Okay, what is the respiratory regulation have got in their hand? The weapon the lungs have, that is carbon dioxide. They can only act, they can only intervene with the help of carbon dioxide by changing the amount of carbon dioxide. By changing the amount of dissolved, PCO2 means partial pressure of carbon dioxide or carbonic acid, the denominator in the equation. What denominator? Whose denominator? This is the equation, okay. This carbonic acid is basically the PCO2. It's the solubility or the partial pressure of carbon dioxide that is determining the ultimate whole pH of the body. So if there is any change, this part lung can control the carbonic acid concentration, okay. So this is referred to as the denominator, okay. So what happens generally? The carbon dioxide diffuses, this is normal physiology, diffuses from the cells into the extracellular fluid and reaches the lungs through the blood naturally, okay. So this rate of respiration, that is the elimination of carbon dioxide, is controlled by chemoreceptors in the respiratory center which are sensitive to changes in pH of blood. It means what? Whenever there is change in some pH, that change will be sensed by respiratory center receptors which are very chemosensitive. The chemoreceptors are very sensitive to change in pH. They will now act in such a way so that our rate of respiration will either increase or decrease, and that will lead to higher or lower loss of carbon dioxide. Remember, when you are taking respiration, oxygen is coming in and carbon dioxide is going out. Incoming or outgoing of oxygen has got no role. It is the carbon dioxide outflow that is important. Okay. Role. I mean, the key point here is whenever there is fall in plasma pH, that is acidosis, the respiratory rate is stimulated, resulting in hyperventilation. Very important. It means whenever there is lowering of pH means what will happen? There is excess production of acid. Okay. So now who will be coming into the rescue? First, bicarbonate buffer, that is alkali reserve, will be coming into the rescue. They will form H2CO3. Whenever there is excess acid, what will happen? H2CO3 will dissociate from H2O plus CO2, and this CO2 is lost. Okay. This would eliminate more CO2, thus lowering the carbonic acid level. Now see, this is the action that is done by bicarbonate buffer. Okay. Don't think that lung is also doing the same thing. This carbon dioxide is being produced at the level of tissues, and it is getting diffused by lungs. It is getting diffused out and delivered to the lungs, and lung is passively eliminating this. Whenever we are talking about respiratory regulation, it means when the bicarbonate buffer has failed, there is no more alkali. You get my point? There is no more alkali in the system. So this HCO3 minus plus H plus will not give rise to CO2. Lung itself proactively tries to remove all carbon dioxide as much as possible, so that there is a normal concentration of bicarbonate in the body, definitely, that determines this pH change. This is the normal concentration of bicarbonate. Okay. So what will happen? If this becomes low, if the denominator becomes low, the product of division will be more. Okay. And ultimately the pH will increase. This concept should be very clear. Okay. pH equals to pK plus log of what by what? Bicarbonate by carbonic acid, PCO2. Okay. If this PCO2 value becomes lower, this product will become high. It means log of this product will also become high. So whenever the body pH is low, lung will try to compensate by lowering the amount of acid that lung already has. So see, there are two acid in the body. One is the acid that is controlled by the lungs, that is carbonic acid, and other acids are being produced by the body, for example lactic acid or keto acid. They are now in excess. Okay. So what the lung will try to do? The lung will try to lower whatever weapon the lung has, and the only acid that the lung can control is carbonic acid. So it will lower carbonic acid. How can it lower carbonic acid? By driving off excess CO2, expiring out the excess carbon dioxide. This is very important. One way to drive out all the CO2 is known as hyperventilation. This is the only way, not one way. Hyperventilation means we are doing like this. You may think more oxygen is coming. Yes, definitely more oxygen is coming, but this is leading to more wash out of CO2. The reverse changes will happen if there is an alkalosis. What will happen in case of alkalosis? If there is excess alkali in the body, and if the lung has got the responsibility to lower the pH, it will lead to hypoventilation. The ventilation will will go on in such a way so that the lung CO2 is held. It is now stopped from getting lost. in that case, whenever the body pH is very high, then the PCO2 will increase, leading to, when the denominator increase, this product will become less and the whole pH will also lower. Okay. You get my point? So whenever pH is low, that is acid, lung will try to lose excess acid by giving off excess CO2 in the form of hyperventilation. Okay. One catch point is this cannot continue for long because there is finite amount of carbon dioxide. Okay, and carbon dioxide is essential for our body for the respiration to continue. If all carbon dioxide is gone, it will lead to respiratory failure. So there is some limitation of in how the respiratory regulation can happen. Okay. So this is it. However, this cannot continue for long. The respiratory system responds to any change in pH immediately, that is whenever the buffer system has failed, but it cannot proceed to completion. For example, if the pH is so low, suppose the pH is now at 6.4, okay, and there is a lot of pH gap that needs to be covered, the lung can only cover it partially. Okay, so there will be partial compensation by the lung. We'll be discussing compensation in details, but finally that is the third line of defense, that is the kidneys that have to play a role. Okay, we are not discussing renal regulation right now. So this is the concept how lung acts, but lung does this by shaking hand with hemoglobin. So how hemoglobin acts? Okay. The action of hemoglobin is very important, but this is very easy for you to understand because whatever happens in tissues, just the opposite happens in lung. Okay, we all know hemoglobin is the one that helps in transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide, oxygen in the form of oxyhemoglobin and carbon dioxide in the form of carbaminohemoglobin. Okay, not carboxyhemoglobin, mind it, carboxyhemoglobin is carbon monoxide. Okay, so you need to know this carbonic anhydrase enzyme, very important. It is actually a reversible enzyme, it can work in both ways. So CO2 plus H2O combines to form carbonic acid. We have been telling this since long, since we started this class, since we have started bicarbonate buffer. Okay, this is done by the enzyme carbonic anhydrase. So what next? This bicarbonate breaks down into form, carbonic acid breaks down to form H plus and bicarbonate, and this H plus reduces hemoglobin. Basically HHB means reduced hemoglobin. Okay, this happens at the tissue level, and this is also known as isohydric transport. This is an MCQ question. Okay, why? Because hemoglobin, while transferring carbon dioxide, does not go significant change in pH. Okay, the pH change is minimum. See, take a screenshot over here, very important. Okay, extremely important. First screenshot लो and फिर जैसे मैं समझा रहा हूँ diagram को समझो. I'll take 5 minutes extra, it doesn't matter. This is the question that is also serving an answer to short note of chloride shift. Okay, so what is chloride shift? देख के बहुत complicated लग रहा है, but I'll just make you understand. It is very easy. देखो, note this. The main motto in cellular level, ठीक है? What is the main motto at cellular level? Blood को क्या करना है, hemoglobin को क्या करना है? What hemoglobin needs to do? Hemoglobin needs to deliver oxygen to the cells, and hemoglobin needs to accept oxygen. Okay, RBCs needs to accept oxygen. The purpose of blood is to, accept carbon dioxide, I'm wrong. Okay, the purpose of blood is to deliver oxygen and accept carbon dioxide at various tissue levels, especially brain and all the tissues, all need oxygen. So how it happens? So let's first start with accepting carbon dioxide. I told you it accepts carbon dioxide. Okay, under the action of carbonic anhydrase, it forms carbonic acid. Okay, that carbonic acid breaks down to form H plus and HCO3 minus. Okay, now already there is oxyhemoglobin in blood. Okay, oxyhemoglobin, where from oxyhemoglobin has come? Oxyhemoglobin has been formed at lungs. Okay, कैसे form हो रहा है we'll be discussing very soon. So oxyhemoglobin is formed at lungs, and now this RBC has got oxyhemoglobin. So this H plus combines with oxyhemoglobin to form reduced hemoglobin, okay, and free oxygen is delivered to the tissues. ये तो हुआ number 1. And what happens to this bicarbonate? This bicarbonate goes into alkali reserve of the cell. But to maintain the ionic balance, since a negative ion is going out, another negative ion has to get in to maintain the electrical balance or the membrane potential of the cell. This is the chloride which gets into the cell. देखो, chloride has no role in oxygen carrying, but to maintain the electrical balance, chloride has to get in. This is known as chloride shift. Okay, so this is what happens at the tissue level. Clear? अगर क्लियर नहीं है तो इसको बार बार देखना, क्लियर हो जाएगा. So now what happens at lung level? Okay, पूरा उल्टा. Now the reverse thing has to happen. It means lung needs to eliminate CO2. Okay, lung को CO2 को बाहर निकालना है. So whenever the blood reaches lungs, this bicarbonate re-enters the erythrocyte. It means what happened? The reduced hemoglobin जो टिश्यू से आया, that will combine with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, and उसके साथ बना प्रोटॉन, right? जो बाइकार्बोनेट था, that is in the alkali reserve, that will now the reserve alkali that was present will combine with the proton in the extracellular fluid to form carbonic acid. This carbonic acid will dissociate to form H2 and CO2, and this CO2 will be eliminated by the lung. डायग्राम दिखाएंगे, बट ये पॉइंट अच्छे से नोट कर लो. द एक्टिविटी ऑफ कार्बोनिक एनहाइड्रेज increases in acidosis. This is the whole key word in our class. Activity of carbonic anhydrase will increase in acidosis. Naturally, हमको एसिड को बाहर निकालना है, okay? And decrease in H plus concentration. मतलब, okay, means whenever there is decrease in H plus concentration means there is alkalosis, then the activity will decrease. Increase in H plus means acidosis, ठीक है? Okay, so the reverse thing is happening in lungs. Okay, देखो, so air, the main purpose of lung is to accept the incoming oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin and deliver out the carbon dioxide. Fine, देखो क्या कैसे हो रहा है. So air, that is from oxygen, that is inspired air. Inspired air is coming in, it is combining with the reduced hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin. Simply opposite. पिछला जो डायग्राम था इसका भी अगर स्क्रीनशॉट लोगे तो simply the opposite. लेकिन यही लिखना है. Whenever respiratory regulation of pH is there is a long question, you need to write this one only. Okay. Now a proton is generated. Who will take care of this proton? The alkali. Where from this alkali is coming? It is coming from the alkali reserve. Okay. It is coming from extracellular fluid or the alkali reserve. But since a negative ion is coming inside, something from inside the cell has to go out. Okay, so chloride goes out. So both the diagrams are important in order to determine chloride shift. Okay, so whether the question is respiratory regulation of pH or whether the question is how hemoglobin acts as buffer or whether the short note is on chloride shift, आंसर दोनों का सेम, तीनों का सेम है. ओके, सो दिस नाउ कंबाइंस टू फॉर्म H2CO3 and again reversible enzyme carbonic anhydrase बनेगा CO2 and CO2 is lost as air in the form of expired air. ये हम बाहर निकाल दे रहे हैं with breathing. Okay, so it's not over actually, अभी बहुत बाकी है. The respiratory regulation is over. Okay, the respiratory regulation is over. In the next class we will start with the renal regulation of pH. By that time you go through all the buffers, you go through all the way how lung can regulate a pH change. So any query, feel free to get back to me in the comment section. If you are watching this video in YouTube, you type this word carbonic in the comment section. It will prove that you have watched this video till now. Anyway, feel free to get back to me in the comment section. You can type in the WhatsApp group or in the query and I will be happy to answer that, and I will see you in the next one. Till then, bye and take care.